Hello guys, Omni here. Star Wars has officially broken their silence over this High Republic stuff, and they have an announcement trailer out for what they're going to be doing with it. You know, they've been kind of talking about this a little bit coming into the close of the Skywalker saga. No matter how you feel about that, I'm kind of glad to be getting away from this era since we spent so much time in it, and we all kind of have our own personal stakes in what is happening with and around that kind of time frame. So I feel like it's really good, at least, to move Star Wars away from that into an area that hasn't been really explored all that much. Even in the expanded canon, I can't remember this particular time range really being touched upon all that closely. So there's a lot. This allows them to bring in some old canon stuff if they want to, and really kind of grow and expand and build their own period, build their own stories, their own ideas, arcs, and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what they do with this. It's 200 years prior to the events of The Phantom Menace, so before the prequels, before all of that. Not as far back as the Old Republic, which is like 3,000 years from what I remember. And even though that's really what I want to see, but I think we have some hope for that. And I'll talk about that after we cover the video. There's some things that's been popping up here recently that I think we might get in some hints of some kind of inclusion diving back into the Old Republic era. But before we talk about that, let's see what they have for us today with the announcement trailer for Star Wars The High Republic. Here we go. Hundreds of years before the Skywalker saga, the Galactic Republic is at its height. Protected by the Jedi Knights, the guardians of peace and justice throughout the galaxy. But a frightening new adversary threatens the High Republic. Dramatic.
We're finding ourselves at a very exciting moment with the Skywalker saga coming to an end. We're at a place of what's next for Star Wars. One of the things we've always done is be able to use our franchise platforms to explore the creative potential of the Star Wars galaxy. And so what if publishing was more of an incubation place and bring in great talent and just let their imaginations roam free?
So is this going to be like a print initiative and not a movie?
We put together a really unique writers' room.
Project
We had
Luminous.
diverse voices with very different opinions about Star Wars.
We all love Star Wars, but we're all coming in from very different places.
Not
This has
quite
been a very
what I was
free
expecting with
environment
this.
For everybody to just throw things
A lot
out
of
there.
We've all done
potential
lots of stories,
screenshot
man, but this is unique and really
recaps.
special.
The idea that
Okay,
this thing has
we're gonna
been
have to go
simmering
back and
for
look
so
at that
long.
list.
The secret history of the galaxy.
Yep, that goes way back to the beginning of Star Wars.
We gave them essentially a blank slate. What would you like to tell?
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice.
A line that we've been hearing since 1977, and we thought, you know, what does that look like?
It is a golden age where there's much more peace and calm in the galaxy. So we're calling it the High Republic.
The description that we've used for the
I
Jedi in this era
like
is
the
that they're
concept
Jedi
art.
Knights of the Round Table.
But
Jedi
Star Wars
Knights of
isn't
the
just
Round
about
Table.
Jedi, and we will tell stories of new smugglers, new scoundrels, new bounty hunters.
The threat and the tension really comes from the Republic's borders, because the Republic does not extend from one side of the galaxy to the other.
It's a bit of a Wild West new frontier. We see a different kind of Jedi that patrols the frontiers and is more of a Texas Ranger.
We're now bringing in concept artists, illustrators, and visualists, the same way that you would when you're making a movie.
We even had Ian McKay come down and just do sketch after sketch for us. When you have the guy who designed the look for Darth Maul sketching Jedi for you, it doesn't get any cooler than
Wookiee.
this.
The scale of this initiative is really new for us. We're going to have stories for adults and teens and kids.
We're building this out simultaneously across multiple publishers. It gives us the
Okay, so this
ability
is
to tell
a print
vast, interconnected
initiative for
stories
sure
across
then.
multiple years.
Viz Media,
There will be a
gonna have
core
like an
group of heroes that
anime
will
manga-esque
expand over time.
version.
There'll be villains.
There's IDW also.
Our main villain are the group called the Nile. We kind of like to refer to them as Space Vikings.
Their motto is, you
They're
can't take it with you, but we can take it from
multicultural.
you. Our Our story starts with what we're calling the Great Disaster.
I have some thoughts about
It wouldn't
that.
be Star Wars without adventure. And there's definitely a series of events that will spin the galaxy into a dangerous new direction, and it'll give the
I
opportunity. for
really
heroes
like
to
the art
rise
for
up.
this. Oh, the Wookiee.
The cool thing about this is that there's going to be a story for every Star Wars fan. It's really fun to be able to keep readers on their toes. This era is ripe for storytelling. The eureka moment was the question, what scares the Jedi? And that made us all go, ooh, something wicked this way comes.
Space Vikings or something else? Ooh, what was that? That looked like a vampire. New adventure begins August 2020. All right, we're going to flip into breakdown mode. Because there was some spots here. I'm going to just kind of run us back through some of these boards that they had set up. All right, let me find it. We had a couple. See if there's anything we can take away from it. Some sneak peeks into their little minds that we've got going on here. Now, okay, what do we got here? Moral but subtle, good versus evil, no single character, the Force, intergenerational, adventures, Force growth, design, chosen family, space battles, lightsaber battles. I can't quite make that one out. Imperfect characters. The rest of that's just a mess. Can't make any of that out. I think that's like a glimpse of the other board here. Complicated monsters. Any genre fits inside. Single biome planet, I think. Not sure what that word is. Science, yes. Science, question mark? Yes. Midichlorians? Is that what they're going to be leaning into there, maybe? Can't make this one out. Family, culture, Chewbacca, Ewoks, something. Mon Mothma, functional family, something. Fractional? Some Jedi hierarchy. Heyday? Jedi heyday. New Jedi. Blah, blah, blah. Jakku, Jeddah, something, samurai, something, soldier, something. Oh, no, samurai stories, soldier stories, crime stories, different classes, niche stories. Old Republic down there at the bottom. Old Republic right here. I want to see Revan. See it. Show me. All right. Then there was another board here in just a second. Here it is. Okay. So that one column on the right there goes up quite a bit. So we'll start here with this one because we see fiction, authentically lived in, surprise, diversity, actual ending, feelings. I like that. Actual ending, relatable characters, sweeping slash epic, humor. I think that was all on that column. It's so blurry. I don't think we'll be able to make out some of the stuff. It's not in the still. Star Wars, not pro-war. I mean, that's true. Droids, scope, mythic, space and lightsaber battles, no single main character, the Force, complicated monsters. Okay. Can we make out any of that? Nope. It's so blurry. There's so much we're not getting. Star Wars wishes, High Republic, relic hunters. I like the concept of that, relic hunters. That's kind of what Luke was doing between Return and The Force Awakens, at least in the new canon. He did a little bit of that too in the expanded canon before, but this, of course, is before all that. University, like Jedi University? I don't know what it means by university. Dinosaurs with an exclamation point. We want dinosaurs. Like the mythosaur? Like are we talking about that or some expansion on that? Representation of diversity. I mean, I feel like that's always been a part of Star Wars, just maybe not as much as, we would want it for today. Star Wars is kind of always kind of introduced that. So I think that's a core part of Star Wars to begin with, especially with the races, the aliens, and all the communal aspects of their cultures and stuff like we see with the Jedi, the Mandalorians and stuff like that. So I feel like that's already integral part of Star Wars. So I feel like that's a little unnecessary or self-explanatory to actually just put on this wish. Why is it under Star Wars wishes? That should be under Star Wars main column. Arthurian legends. I like those. I like the thought of that. I've always thought of the Jedi as more like, sheriffs / samurai. So having them, actually be knights and have some kind of legends like that would be interesting. Rival houses. Okay. Getting some clash of classes and groups, maybe some Game of Thrones people in there. Sith Empire. Yes. Though it would not be around this time. It's not going to be during the High Republic unless you're exploring the history and idea of that. That's more Old Republic era. Chaos agents, splinter group force users. Yes. Like the Night Sisters, like, the Witches of Dathomir and all of that kind of stuff. We've seen some other ones. The not the wills, the beings that teach Yoda how to become one with the Force, that taught Qui-Gon how to do it. I can't remember what they're called. Maybe even the Mortis family can be tied into that. Not necessarily Jedi or Sith, but other versions of that. Even like the Voss and the Old Republic could be something they might explore. And I think we didn't see any other stills of that in here somewhere. No other drawing boards, just a lot of, well, let's go to the publishers here, because I thought that was interesting. Because these they don't just do straight. Like, we got comic books, we got 2 different comic houses, and then we got different, novel publication companies here. We got Viz, which does a lot of importing on manga and stuff like that. So that's really curious to see Viz in on this. I'm not familiar with Titan. I'm familiar with Del Rey, again, another, print-based medium. DK, that makes a lot of the visual novels that we have, the visual dictionaries that Star Wars puts out. This is, but again, none of this is really pointing to, I don't need these on anymore. None of these are really pointing to anything like film or screen type stuff. So I don't know if maybe this is to build the foundation for the film, one of the films that's going to be coming out here in the near future in the next 2 years, the Feige one or the one before that, or what's going to happen, or if those are going to be completely separate. I don't know. I'm curious to see where they go with this. I like a lot of the art. A lot of the concept art is really cool and beautiful. I like the idea of this time where the Jedi were just everywhere and prosperous. And I like a lot of the different races we're seeing here. This group, the Nihil, I'd like to see if that was a play off of the name for Nihilus, for Darth Nihilus. Probably not, since they're more of space Vikings rather than Sith or anything like that than what they've said. This is what feels strange for me. I don't know if they are saying that the new threat to the galaxy are these space Vikings, or if they are just an adversary the Jedi are going to run into. Because they said, I want to think of something that scares the Jedi. And space Vikings doesn't seem like something that would strike fear to Jedi. They've always been fearful of the dark side, the Sith and stuff like that. If it was like a Force group or a splinter group of the Force, that would make sense. Space Vikings just seems like another offshoot, especially where they're multiracial, multispecial, that they're very similar to the Mandalorians, just in a reverse culture. They reap and take what they sow, and they're not really a warrior race. They're just, well, they are a warrior race. They're not as honor-based and as the Mandalorians. They are more like conquest and maintaining land and an expansion rather than literally just plundering and taking. They're like pirates, of course. So I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of parallels with this time being during the High Republic. I would have thought that maybe this would have been, we would see more of the Mandalorian Jedi conflicts a little bit. Not all the way back to the Mandalorian Wars, which is back in the Old Republic, before the Old Republic. So I don't know. Maybe that just doesn't line up timeline wise, but I think like introducing a new faction like this is a little strange when you have existing ones that are kind of already the same kind of archetype, just different helmets and different masks and different gear. They're very more, tribal, it seems like, than even the Mandalorians. The Mandalorians are a lot more advanced than this. So I'm curious to see how these play up, or if there's some other threat that we only kind of see some glimpses and shots of minorly there in the beginning. Not in the beginning, so throughout there was like some concept art that kind of flickered up that had some very like monstrous like imagery to it. So I'm wondering if it's something beyond just these guys, these people, because I don't see, like, just initially from the concept they're delivering here of these space Vikings, as they like to call it, I don't see them as being a viable threat or fear or nightmare to the Jedi, as they put it. It's got to be something else. There's got to be something else in there. We did see Old Republic on the list in there, and I think that adds more credence to us exploring that down the road. I did see something a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where they had recently registered a trademark host name, like a URL for something Old Republic related. I can't remember the exact domain that was registered. So we know that they've incorporated more of the Old Republic lore, some of the old canon, into the current Star Wars with the last visual dictionary that came out for Rise of Skywalker, including a lot of old non-canon Sith lords in the explanation of the Sith army. We saw Revan. We saw a couple of others, some of which were from The Force Unleashed. Some of them were in the Plagueis book. Phobos and a couple of others were mentioned in there as well. We already know the Bane exists, and we already know that Revan is now canon. So I feel like they're going to be exploring that, because there's two things here that I saw that are to be released that are coming out for pre-orders. There is a redeemed Revan figure that is coming out, given it's being advertised as being part of the Galaxy of Heroes mobile game, where it's this redeemed Revan figure that you can get in this action figure. But they also just announced the other day the pre-orders are going up for a Black Series straight from Hasbro. Official Black Series Darth Revan FX lightsaber is coming out, and it's pretty nifty. Like, the blade's detachable. It changes colors between red and purple, his primary two colors of his blade when he was a Jedi and then when he became a Sith. And it's his hilt from the game. So they're expanding a lot of this more. So I feel like we got to be touching on that somewhere, whether it's going to become relevant to maybe season 2 of The Mandalorian, or maybe it's going to come up as part of the Mandalorian siege, where Maul is being sieged on Mandalore in the Clone Wars series, the final series that's come out now, the final season of that show. Both which heavily rooted in expanding upon the lore and the history of Mandalore, which ties back to where Revan got his mask, which is when he killed the current Mandalore, took it and donned it for himself and used it as a symbol of his victory during the Mandalorian Wars. And, it's, I don't know. There's a lot of places they could insert it. I don't know if they're going to go back. Maybe we'll get like a remake or remaster of KOTOR, like an official one, because there was that fan-made one that got shut down by LucasArts not too long ago. But I don't know. I want to see Revan. Revan, like, outside of the official canon, the Star Wars films, the Old Republic was always my favorite period, because that game from BioWare was just amazing. The character of Darth Revan is my favorite Star Wars character that there is, even if you consider everyone that we've seen up to this point. I like that story arc, the rise, the fall, and the redemption of Revan. Love it. It's one of my favorite things, one of my favorite storylines, and I want to see that come out. And we're still dodging that with this new era here, unless they just kind of pick and poke at it. I do like that he's at least canon now, so we'll take it as we get. Little bits as we go along. We're getting away from the Skywalkers, and it's not all Sith users. It's not all Force users, as they've said in this. There's going to be new bounty hunters, new smugglers, new scoundrels, stuff like that. It's not just going to be the Jedi, even though for me, the thing that draws me into Star Wars the most, that I find the most interesting and energetic and attention grabbing, has always been the Force, the connection to it and everybody else, the Sith, the Jedi, the splinter groups of the Force itself, everything surrounding that, I really like. Because for me, I just feel like you see like these scoundrels, these bounty hunters and stuff like that so much in a lot of other media in different kind of ways, and it feels like the same kind of archetypes for me personally. I know it's not like that for everybody. There's a lot of people out there that don't like any of the Force stuff. They like the other side of it, the down and dirty, the gritty, the stuff like more than the rest of it. But I like that. I like the mysticism, the cultural, the spiritual aspects of Star Wars and how it's been approached and dived into. But that's my thoughts on it. I've talked about this a lot longer than I thought I was going to, so I apologize for that. So I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about this initiative here? It seems to be all print, books, comics, stuff like that. We know nothing or confirmation, at least, of this being a film, at least right now. That's what we had thought with Project Luminous and whatever this is, the High Republic. I really thought they were going to be building a film out of this, which they still might. This may just be a part of their plan to get that film out there by building up this foundation and then have the film be set within whatever this is they set up, building this interconnected world between these books and really starting to create their own interwoven, interconnected stories, where building up the movies like they have been in the past while simultaneously doing all these side stories and books hasn't always lined up well. You got a lot of contradictions in a lot of the Star Wars, a lot of the Skywalker era stuff now, from where there was just a lot of misconversation going on, especially while they were writing these books, while they were still figuring out this scripts. Anyway, that's just its own mess. We're getting away from that. We're getting away from this whole area where whatever, we got our original trilogy, the prequel trilogy and all that stuff, which is fine and good and dandy and off in its corner. We're just not going to go over there anymore. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that right now. So what do you guys think of it? Tell me your thoughts and your comments down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video because I really want to know what you guys think. I really want to have that conversation is to get your all's perspective on this. So shout out, sound off down in the comments, and we'll carry that on after this. If you guys like this video, support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will catch you guys next time in the next video. So take care, everybody, and may the Force be with you always. Take care.